It doesn't matter what your dreams and hopes and ambitions are. It doesn't matter if you have a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend or you've got plans for the future. You can forget those plans because you're going to wind up dead.
Whenever that pop-up shows up, it says, it informs me that the show has started recording. It says got it or leave meeting, and I want to click leave meeting just to leave you just leave you on red.
Don't you
Hello everybody, welcome back to Decayed Tapes. This is Miguel Myers, and I'm joined by my co-host and overlord
Max Blood Lake Booth.
Nice.
Yeah.
Max. Yeah, that's it.
You have nothing.
I got nothing.
That's okay. It's
I was gonna go.
It's Thanksgiving Eve, a holiday no one gives a shit about.
Yeah, I was gonna go one way, and I decided to not do it.
Which
it was
way?
A reference to a conversation we had before we started recording.
The mining?
No.
Oh, okay. For those listening who just tuned in, we feel like Clip Refield. I did a sick minal joke, but you'll never feel it.
You'll never hear it. Yeah, not even the Patreon. There's
not even Miguel filled it the first time. I had to say it 3 times.
Yeah. Max, how have you been? It's been a couple weeks since we recorded together.
It's okay. I think I have some type of stomach bug at the moment. I thought initially a coffee place fucked up and given me just milk instead of oat milk. That was like 5 days ago, and I'm still just on the toilet 90% of the day. So I think I caught something.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in to this to this conversation, guys. We are going to talk about Blood Lake. Before we do that, we need to talk about Max's blood diarrhea. Oh man.
You asked how I'm doing. How are you doing? I'm not doing great, man.
No.
Jesus Christ.
We need to do something about this diarrhea. No, what I was going to tell you was a couple years back, this is pre-pandemic. I was deep into Mondo, collecting posters and shit like that. And I think this was 2019. And there's offshoots of Mondo where people do commissions, where they commission artists to make prints of movies that they feel, maybe Mondo wasn't giving attention to or whatever. Then offshoot of that was they had their own like little festival, where like we rented a park in Austin here, and we watched a movie. It was Demolition Man and stuff like that. And the cost of your ticket, you got the poster, you got the movie, all that sort of stuff, and you got food. And they had Taco Bell. Now I don't fuck with Taco Bell at all. Yeah. It's terrible, horrible food. But I had paid for everything, and I was fucking hungry. And I was like, well, how fucking bad can it be? So I took 5 Doritos Locos to the face, and it fucked me up. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. 2 to 3 weeks, I was messed up. Wow. And I had to go to Walgreens. There's like this Biodome, some sort of bacteria packet that you could put in your drink or water or whatever to get in your stomach to reestablish your Biodome. Because that's how fucked up the Taco Bell fucked me up. So maybe you should look into that, because that really helped me out. Like the next day I was feeling better.
Now, I've seen Biodome like 20 times, and that didn't seem to have any effect on my stomach.
This is better than
in a positive way.
This is better than a minor joke.
I disagree heavily, but no one will know. Mine was great. I made a whole thing about them not getting signal with Spotify because of the mine, and you just didn't even respond to it. Yeah. We're talking about Blood Lake today, folks. A movie with a lot of lake and not as much blood as you would think.
Is this a party house or what? It's gonna be a killer.
Hey Mike, you gonna be a butthole this weekend, or are you gonna let me drink?
Good luck, baby.
I got my beer, my sex partner. I'm fine. don't do anything yet. That's what they all say
Tony.
at first.
Not much of anything happening, I would say,
It's pretty
in this movie.
mundane.
Yeah. I gotta say, like the first image of the movie, and we'll get into it in a second here, but I just have to say the first image of the movie you see is Agfa and then Bleeding Skull. And my note was, okay, you know it's gonna be good. Because when Agfa and Bleeding Skull put their name on something, it's typically really good. Not to say anything, because I know they're also in they're in the business of preserving movies, right? I think this was purely preserving a movie because there wasn't really anything that said Agfa or Bleeding Skull to me. So,
who directed this? I don't have his name.
Tim Boggs.
Tim Boggs. So Tim Boggs directed, and I believe Doug Bailey wrote the movie. And I was listening to a podcast that Tim Boggs was on before we began recording. I think it was called, I have the title of the podcast in front of me. The podcast is called Two Nerds Podcast. So it's two fucking geeks. They have this podcast, and they had Tim Boggs on a while back. And they talked to him about the movie, and basically, you know, he was in. I'm just paraphrasing what I remember now of what he said, but he was in like film school studying movie shit, and someone who turned out to be Doug Bailey was like, "Hey, I'm writing this screenplay. I don't know the technology. Would you come and direct it, and I'll finish the screenplay, and all of my friends will basically just be the cast." And that's what they did. They have this lake house because the lead actress, it was the Hill family's lake house. I mean, simple as that. I am surprised a script was involved. I assumed it was mostly just improv, and who knows, maybe it was improv. I haven't read the script. I don't know what it says, but it definitely feels like an improvised movie.
And so I'm just looking at the IMDb right now. The writer is, like you said, Doug Barry, who also played Mike.
Yeah, he played the lead.
The lead.
The lead.
More probably one of the better actors in the movie, which isn't saying very much, but I won't criticize him for choosing himself as a lead. He was probably the best out of the options that he had.
I think he was the only one with acting experience. I think he was in something else as well. I mean, maybe nothing that actually was like made into a movie, but he acted in something, a play maybe. Who knows? I don't know how they got the rest of the cast. I assume they were all just friends and family. They didn't rent the house. They just were able to use it. And he was talking about Todd Boggs, Tim Boggs. The Boggs
Wade
man.
Boggs.
Wade Boggs. Yeah, that's what I think of every time I try to think of his name. He was talking about how like some of his friends found out that he was going to be shooting this movie at this lake house, and for like the first week or so of shooting, they had this issue where like everybody he knew kept showing up to kind of get drunk and hang out because they thought it was going to be like this big like party weekend, but he had to like kick everybody out because they just kept showing up and getting drunk and ruining the shoot, which I thought was pretty funny.
I would do that. If I found out that you were recording a movie, and first of all, I was involved, I'd be crying. But then it's like I would show up and ruin your shoot. 100%.
I would do the same to you, man. It doesn't always have to be me who's doing something.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, you could make a movie and I could just come get drunk and watch and ruin it. That would be great. I don't like doing things anymore. I don't want to be in charge of anything. I don't want to lead.
Is this why you're a bottom?
This is my bottom. Also, while shooting, the parents of the two young children that are in this movie, for reasons that baffle me, they had second thoughts, and they were like, I don't know if we should leave our kids with you guys for like a week or so. And so they stuck around for a little bit. And the Boggs man, he was saying how in the beginning he was upset that they were like intruding, but then he was happy because the kids' parents began like making all the meals for them, and that's how they would eat. I like that. But he also
Nice.
kicked them out with the evil people who kept ruining the shoot. So it would just be the Boggs man and the cast and crew, which will one and the same. The cast will the crew will the cast.
I mean, I think based on what we saw in this movie, the parents definitely needed to be there because this was very uncomfy watching how that kid, I forget his fucking, I don't even know his name. I don't know a lot of these
Young
kids.
Tony. They
Young
call
Tony,
it.
okay,
Yeah,
Tony.
yeah.
How he was reacting to Susan. First of all, why is Tony there? Why is Susan there? Why is Susan by herself? Like she's not doesn't seem to be related to any of these people.
Oh.
She has nobody to be in her corner in case something were to happen. Like this is the movie here. First of all, they should be older. I don't like that they're like 9 years old and they keep talking about their sex life. Like, oh,
Yeah.
what'd you guys get into? You're tired last night. It's like, it's really fucking weird, off-putting. Tony's a predator now. Like he survived and he's a predator. Yeah.
My in all caps, I have who let this child come here? And I mean that in both, like in the movies universe, who allowed the small female child to come with all these boys? And also, what parent allowed the small child to be in this movie? Did you not read this the whatever the script consisted of? Because it was highly unhinged for any children to be involved at all.
Well, there was a child involved and we need to do something.
Yeah, but the kid in my movie wasn't like, "Hey, who wants to suck my dick tonight?"
Yeah,
No,
that was really weird.
that line was cut from my movie.
It's out of your control.
Yeah, but to go back, I mean, we begin with like the briefest prologue opening shots. This guy cutting a bush, right? Now, this guy who's doing the lawn maintenance, this is played by Tim Boggs' wife's ex-husband. He needed someone to get killed in the beginning of this movie. He thought, who better than my wife's ex-husband, who is now also his ex-wife. So I don't know if that's related or not. It's just some info I found while Googling around and listening to the previously mentioned podcast. But he's cutting a bush, and then someone else walks up to him with a knife. And do you know what is said in this confrontation?
Yeah, he says, I just work here. And then the killer's like, good enough for me. And then stab.
Just stabs him. Yeah, that's it. Then we go to Blood Lake and a big title killed. And then we proceed to have a 5-minute music video. One of full complete song scenes of a fucking Voyager song, a band I never even heard of until this movie. Do you know about this band?
No, but I wrote down, oh, it's by Voyager. That name sounds familiar, but I think maybe I was thinking Journey, but I'm not familiar with either one.
I had the same thing. Well, I thought, oh yeah, Voyager. Then I realized I was thinking of the band Foreigner. So I don't, yeah, I don't know this band. I mean, the music wasn't bad, to be honest, but no movie has the song play from beginning to end. And they do full different songs by this band throughout this 82-minute movie.
Yeah, they did it a couple times, and it's definitely even at the end.
Yeah, I have every song listed. They do it full times.
Yeah, but my first thing after we see, first of all, the stab, the killer kills him. There's no build up to it. It's very unsuspenseful. Is that a word? There's no suspense to it. We don't see the killer, which is fine. Maybe you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to blow your wad so early, but it's like when we see him later, this is the worst killer I've probably ever seen in a horror movie. Like,
yes.
It's just some dude. I'm sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie yet. It's just some dude named Jed in work boots and jeans.
But he's really distinct because one pant's leg is tucked into his boots and one pant's leg is not tucked in. It's like that's his thing.
Okay, so you got iconic things like Michael Myers mask, Jason's machete, and Jed's tucked in jeans pants. I don't know. It just seems
the lamest slasher of all time.
It was very lazy. Like I'm not going to sit here and just shit on a movie the whole time. Like he's a first time director, like you said, only time director looked like. And for shot on video, there's some pretty cool shots. There's some establishing shots that you wouldn't normally see in shot on video. There's some like alternate viewpoints that were cut together well. When you think about, they have to, this is 1987, and then they go back and edit that. And we already talked to what's the guy's name that we talked to from Video Violence?
Gary Cohen.
Gary Cohen, and he told us how difficult it could be at times to edit videos. So there was some really cool technical stuff about this. I'm not going to hit shit, saying shit on the whole thing, but
to be clear, on the podcast I listened to, that's pretty much all he did was shit on this movie. He does not like it. He doesn't think
the director?
it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
He honestly, it got to a point where I was a little uncomfortable because he kept like implying anyone who does like this movie doesn't have good taste in movies. And I thought, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't shit on little fans.
Yeah.
But he does not like this movie at all. He said the moment he finished filming it, he washed his hands of it and just went about his way because he's involved in Hollywood. He does post-production, like sound mixing and stuff. Like I have in my notes, he's worked on the show Legion. He's worked on Sopranos. Like he did the sound post-production on Demon Night, which we just saw at my bookshop. So he's involved in movies, but he does not direct anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad for him. Like I said, there was some stuff here, but yeah, mostly a very boring movie. But the other thing I wanted to say is after the stab, when the movie actually starts and we get that video, there's a Trans Am towing a boat. And that's like something I've never seen in my life. That feels like some Indiana shit to me. Would you see that in Indiana?
Yeah, that didn't seem odd to me at all. What was wrong with it?
A Trans Am towing a boat?
Is it the type of vehicle that you have an issue with?
It would be like a Prius towing a yacht or something. I don't know. It's just so out of the ordinary.
I don't know. It seemed fine to me.
Okay.
But you're from Chicago, so like we grew up like 25 minutes. Indiana's right next to Chicago.
Yeah, but
same lake.
Thank God our lake didn't dry up like this lake did by an act of God. Apparently,
an act of God. That was pretty good. We'll get to that. Yeah. So we do get this opening credits scene as this Trans Am is towing a boat, and we have this voyageable song throughout the night playing, and we get all the credits. And the one that I just loved that I messaged you about was Tiny Frazier. Great name. That was that was Jed's name. That's who played Jed.
Yeah, had he done anything else?
I did some Googling, and I am about 80% positive he used to wrestle for the WWE, a little different name, because
cool.
Similar name, not quite the same, but they look almost identical. So I think that's who he was. He died in 1992 from diabetes. So rest in peace, Tiny Frazier.
R.I.P. Tiny Frazier. It's always cool when you see somebody with a...
Hold me close, Tiny Frazier. Good.
I would like you to edit out when I was interrupting you so we can hear clean and crisp that joke because it was worth it.
I'm not going to edit anything.
All right. I was just going to say that it's always cool to see somebody named Tiny. You got Tiny Lester. He's an actor who was in like No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan, the bald black dude who was in that. Also, he's Debo from Friday. Always great to see a Tiny in there.
Isn't in Rob Zombie's trilogy, isn't like a Tiny and like House of Thousand Corpses? I think so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. I don't really.
I know you're not a fan. I am. I'm a zombie head. I like him.
I like the first one. Devil's Rejects is all right. Didn't see the last one.
Neither did I.
I hate everything else he's done except for
Lords of Salem.
Lords of Salem, which is fun.
Yeah, that's my favorite of his.
Yeah.
I also really loved the Munsters movie he did. I thought that was fantastic. Did you see it?
No,
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
gotta see
didn't
it.
think that she was worthy of being cast in there, but he, of course, is going to shoo her in whenever he wants.
Oh, his wife?
His wife, yeah,
You mean the person I was dangerously obsessed with as a teen? Yes, indeed.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's her name again?
Shirley Moon Zombie.
Sherry Moon Zombie. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. What
All
else?
right. Blood Lake. All
What
right.
else?
Let's get back.
Blood Lake. We're talking about Blood Lake, folks. So, do you want to describe like what this cast is? Because we have like what, like two sets of college aged kids, and then two children.
Yeah, it's couples. So it's two college couples, and then two
Yeah.
children who apparently are also a couple, or they're trying to be a couple. I'm not sure. But yeah, those kids are like what, 10 years old max.
I guess so,
And
Miguel.
yeah, and they all show up in this Trans Am,
Yeah.
and they're driving to the lake, and they yeah, it's just their dynamic is weird because the one kid is acting like he's a 40-year-old boomer making all these like sex jokes.
I don't know. That seemed like the correct age for a kid to be making those jokes. You don't think so? Well, we also have to mention that the kid is the younger brother of one of the other kids the college aged kids. And those guys will fucking delinquents as well. I mean, they're really prevailed in what they say. So obviously, the young Breville is going to be that like multiplied because he's grown up listening to him, and now he's trying to, also do the same thing. But it's just fucking disgusting. Everything this child says is insane. He's constantly talking about getting some. He's constantly talking about like how big his dick and just
Yeah,
making the craziest sex jokes with these grown-ups essentially.
and like their view, the guy's views towards the women are obviously it's very chauvinistic. And if, like you said, it reflects from him as well, and so it's very 1987 view on women. And even like towards the end of the movie, one of the, I think I forget her name, but one of the women was like, "Isn't it great being a slave?" She says because they're doing all the cooking and the cleaning and all that sort of stuff. It was just really weird. But
That just struck
and
me as a joke. I don't know.
when she said, "Isn't it great being a slave?"
Yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah, I mean,
just
it was a joke, but with some truth to it.
I make those jokes all the time. No, I don't. I have a
Yeah.
different podcast called Alan Woke. It's a video game podcast and also political, really political. Uh,
Do you have these jokes written down, or are they just off the dome?
Yeah, I'm looking at a notebook right now. Speaking of problematic, what's with the Native American paintings inside this house that they go to?
Didn't
Did
even
you?
notice.
There's a lot of Native American paintings, and I didn't feel comfortable with what was going on with that. Mostly, it's no one comments on them. That's just what the lake house was decorated with, because there's also
Mhm.
like a really odd witch face in the kitchen, and if you like pull the drawstring, it sprays water in your face. And
Yeah, that was
that was
really
also
weird.
just in the house that they were able to shoot in. Like they didn't bring that.
I feel like, and you could tell because they're like, "Oh, let's use this," right? Because they just
Yeah.
shoot it in. There was no reason for this whatsoever. And they
Uh,
even have the killer do it later on. It's like,
but he doesn't get sprayed. I didn't get that. He pulls
yeah,
the thing, but there's no shot of Jed getting sprayed in the face. And I was pretty bummed.
yeah, it's the true tragedy of this movie. But so they're inside and they're bringing everything in from the car, and then they're talking about like uh the kid has to go use the washroom, and then the Mike starts saying like, "Oh, you don't know what to do. You just do the pretzel."
Yeah, I
I'm
have
like,
this noted down too.
the fuck does that mean? Does that mean shitting? Like, where? What does that mean?
I had this noted down. So we're talking about like different ways to pee. And one of the college kids, he goes like, but once you grow up, you'll know how to really pee. You just do the principle, like you said. Don't know what this means, but I have to wonder if is this similar to what talking to teaches, you think?
Oh, so it's a position.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there's a lore in with our friend group from Andrew Hilbert that there's a way where you can, I don't even know why, but the way he shits is he turns around, like if like Saved by the Bell or whatever, when somebody, a cool teacher was going to talk to you, they would pull the chair up and turn it around, right? And
Yeah.
then sit that way with their stomach on the back. And so that's how you do it. That's how you talk to teach when you take a shit, as
Yeah.
you sit with your stomach to like the back of the toilets and poop that way.
The
So you're
reason
saying,
why is so you can have like a book or even like a bowl of cereal on the tank.
okay,
You have a stand now.
okay, that makes a perfect sense. Yeah. So you're saying that when he says do the pretzel, that's what he meant.
I mean, maybe not that specifically, but I have to assume it's some type of peeing position I don't know about. But they all
Okay.
seem to know. It all made sense to them. Like no one questioned it. It was just like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course,
Well,
Bills.
no, the Susan questioned it. She's like, what the hell is that?
But she's
Like
not grown
she
up
didn't know.
yet, so she doesn't know.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
just a kid. She's just a
yeah.
kid who should not be in this movie at all.
Should not be there at all.
She looks so much younger than even the boy who's in this. She looks like she is needs help.
I was terrified for her, like in the world of the movie, but also just behind the scenes.
Yeah, dude, the scene where they go skiing and she goes, is it skiing? Is that's called?
Water skiing. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So and she just face plants immediately. That was really Phil's time ever trying to do that. They just got it on the film. They didn't prep
Oh,
or anything. This is a child who's
yeah.
looking after this kid. And is she alive now? I don't know.
It was only her only movie, so we don't know if she survived the making of.
Yeah, I don't know.
But so then they put the groceries in the fridge. Mike goes out to look at the shed, but apparently they don't have a key to the shed right away. Any issues that come up, I'm gonna go to the shed. You know?
But why does he go out to the shed? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember why.
So, one of the ladies, she begins freaking out because the fridge is stocked with
Right.
fresh supplies, and she's like, "There's no way these groceries haven't expired. I haven't been in since May." So she makes one of the guys, I don't know anyone's name, go throw all these groceries away, and that's when he's outside throwing them away that he sees the shed. But you're
Mhm.
right. No one thinks anything odd about this shed, even when later on they they spot someone like looking through the windows and like being a peeping tom. And he runs between the house and shed, and everyone's like, I guess he's gone. Come on.
We got, when we get there, we'll talk about it when he's spotted, because
Yeah.
it's, yeah. So then they find a body floating in the lake,
Uh-huh.
and
It's a trick.
everybody's screams about that. They find out it's a trick because the little boy is pulled in, and yeah, he says then Mike goes and he's pulled in, he gets angry, he's like, screw the both of you. And then the little boy says, we'd be the best you've ever had. And I thought, is this the boys chat? Like, this is
I did in that specific scene, my note did say filmiest child alive. But when he pushes the little guy into the lake, it is the fucking fakest falling down I've ever seen in my life. Like he lightly shoves him, but he takes 2 steps back, stops, looks at the lake, and then begins like shaking his arms and goes, "Whoa!" and falls into it. It's pretty good to see. I recommend not watching this movie, but at least going to that scene just so you can like see this guy calibrate this fucking falling down. It's really funny.
well, it's comical, and it's also like, was it the resurrection of Michael Myers,
Mhm.
the Swedish movie we saw, the one
Yeah,
and two, when the guy was doing the fake falls and all that?
it
Felt like that.
definitely reminded me of that. Yeah. So they unload the boat and they see a fisherman just hanging out on the shore, and they begin taunting him like, "Hey, catch any fish?" Just being assholes to this guy. He does not respond. They leave. Then it's revealed this guy has a knife on him, and he's like the Blood Lake Slasher, or Jed, as he becomes known as at the end of the movie.
The
Jed.
Blood Lake Slasher is a better name than Blood Lake.
I agree.
It should have been the Blood Lake Slasher.
Should have been called Jed.
Like J.E.D, and it could stand for something.
Jehovah. No.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll workshop it. We'll get back to you guys.
two other guys, these locals named Dennis and Chuck, show up at some point. Just like stray dogs, basically. They just pop up and go, "Hey, can we play with you? Can we hang out?" Don't really know much about them, but they just become some of the cast from then on, just hanging out with these groups of people.
Yeah. Didn't learn their names either.
Yeah,
But this is where we find out. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is where we find out that the gardener is missing.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, we find out
Okay.
the gardener's missing, and then they get a phone call, and Becky goes inside. Becky or Becca, whatever, goes inside to answer it, and her dad tells her to change the locks on the front door, which Mike does, but
Yeah, he's a master of locks, is what he says, right?
yeah, but also like, so then the dad thinks that the because we find out later that the reason why Jed is here killing people. So if the dad thinks that he's dangerous, why not tell him to get the fuck out of there? Like, my daughter is at this lake house where this person is dangerous. Like, they should do more than change the locks. They should just fucking get out.
Unless he doesn't like his kids and he wants them to die.
That would be awesome. That would be actually something happening.
Yeah. At some point, they whip out some weed, and you'll in this movie you'll see a lot of like joints being held and passed around, but no one ever seems to smoke them. I noticed there's a lot of just like rolling joints and like passing them around, but everyone's like, "Nah, I'm okay." They just pass them around a lot. The kid, young Tony, I think his name is like, "Oh, I'll take some," but then his bro is like, "Oh, I'll fucking kill you, kid, if you smoke weed." But the whole time the kid's like just drinking alcohol, just copious amounts of alcohol, and the kid goes, "Oh, it's okay." Do you have the quote?
I got my beer, my sex partner, I'm fine.
What a great quote, Dad.
No.
It is implied that he is not dating this kid, by the way. It seems like he just knows her from school. So, like, how did this happen? How did this young child get his parents to agree to let him go with this boy from school and these college kids to a cabin for at least a weekend? I don't even know what the plan is exactly, because like there's a point where she's like, "Oh no, Tony, I know what other kids at school say about you, and you're not to be trusted." What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah. And he says, like, "Oh, what, do you think I'd take advantage of you?" And it's like, oh man, like,
We do think
it's
that.
yeah. Oh man, this whole like, it's, I think I say it somewhere else, but it's like, and he in the end he ends up using, or not the end, but a little later on he uses the F slur.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is possibly, besides the video violence with those other two characters that I fucking hated, this is probably one of the worst like characters I've ever seen, like in my recent memory. Like, there's no redeeming qualities. And yeah, he's a kid and I don't want him to die, but also like, I wish he kind of died
Yeah.
because he's terrible.
Someone has a terrible quote, and I wonder if you have this written down. I think it's when Susan like just tells young Tony to get fucked. And I think it's maybe one of the brothers who will like, there's two types of ladies, right? Do you have that quote?
Yeah, I didn't write it down because at that point I was like, I'm just done with it.
Two types of women: those that do And those that will do.
Yeah.
Terrible. I groaned. I had to pause it. I had to write it down. And then I wrote my "Who let this child come with them" line. And they all hang out in the living room. Basically, each couple will like sitting in each other's laps on the couch and sofa, and they fall asleep. And we cut to outside. Now it's nighttime. That Jed is just walking around outside. We cut back inside, and everyone has fallen asleep in the same position as we last saw them, presumably like several animals ago, like in each other's laps. No one has moved. I just thought that was really funny, just like to see. They
Yeah.
wake up, they decide to go to bed, but then there's like a noise outside, like an animal on the roof. Is that right?
It's just noise. I didn't know if it was. I mean, obviously, I think it was Jed,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was either pounding on the doors or pounding on the walls or something like that.
You know they'll have like a rat, not a rabbit, like a chipmunk, like run across your house. That's what it sounded like to me.
Did your house have like tin roof?
I mean, any house. The
I,
house I live in now. I don't know. Just usually if an animal runs across it makes a noise.
yeah, well, like we have like squirrels all the time, but
Yeah,
I don't hear it. I don't hear it at all.
that just might have to do with age, man.
Fuck. But what one thing I was gonna say is just I think I'm gonna chill. Y'all already know how I feel about this kid, like and all the misogynistic shit they say. But I just said my one last thing is like it's just really off-putting and it makes me not like the movie a lot. And I think I wouldn't have a problem. No, not that I wouldn't have a problem. It'd be a different story if the two younger kids were of the same age, or college kids, right? And just have all college kids. But to have two kids in that position, it feels really wrong, really, it just feels bad. And it just doesn't engender any positive thinking for me. So that's my last word on it. I don't want to keep focusing on that part of it.
Well, we can talk about this shithead all day. I didn't like anyone in this movie, and the kid is just it's truly just insane that this exists. And like in the podcast I was listening to with the directional, they asked him about the kid, and basically they just kept telling him, "Yeah, just be yourself. Keep being yourself. Keep saying the most outrageous stuff you can think of." None of that was scripted. That was just stuff he was. That's just him as
Wow.
a kid.
I'd be interested to see what he grew up to be,
I
and if that was him.
I assume he's on some type of list at this point. Many lists, possibly.
I think we might be on a list for talking about these kids this long. But
Yeah, I'm definitely taking my notes outside and setting them aflame when we're done.
So then the next day they're doing water sports activities. This is an extended scene. Honestly, I just fast forwarded it through this
This is
because it was just
another music video, basically.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And then this is where that little kid uses the F slur. And then so it's another extended water sports scene and then Susan. This is when you're saying Susan falls off on her face and she sees a snake or something like that. Nothing ever comes to this, so it's just like
Yeah.
they needed to pad the time. Is it?
The podcast I listened to, he mentioned how he was trying to tighten the movie when he was editing it, but the writer Dave Bailey kept going like, no, it has to be at least like 80 something minutes or it won't be considered a feature film. So they padded it like crazy, and it's really obvious. And that's the issue with so many of these like shot and video movies that we will find. They all just seem so padded. And it's surprising to me because it's like, surely you can think of entertaining stuff to have in this movie. You have this great setting, but you have like nothing. It's just incapable of like writing or coming up with anything worth watching. I don't know. It's like a home movie basically, with a guy named Jed hanging around outside until the end of the movie.
Well, there's like captives, the captives or the first video violence. There was a certain amount of charm that came with it. Like this movie is completely charmless, and so, but yeah, the padding of it was kind of. I guess I kind of understand it. Like, I don't watch short movies. I don't watch short horror movies. If it's like under 60 minutes, unless somebody tells me it's the greatest thing in the world, I'm probably not going to watch it. So I understand trying to pad it, but you could have padded it, or maybe not padded it, just put some more into the writing.
That I'm interested in why you don't. Like,
I
why do
don't
you?
I don't know. I don't know of a lot of movies under 60 minutes that come highly regarded, horror movies, or
Yeah.
horror shorts. Like there's like a 15 to 20 minutes that I'll watch, or feature length, but there's like 20 minutes through like 75 minutes. It's like, well, not even like 60 minutes. It's like, well, I don't know. That feels like a TV show or
Yeah.
a TV movie. I don't know.
Okay, makes sense.
Do you like short horror movies or short films?
I don't know of a lot of them, just because like they're not as it's easy to find unless you specifically like research it, I think, because like you just don't see those recommended as often.
Right. And
I'll watch them sometimes, sure, but like it's not something I seek out, and I don't know why that is.
new podcast. We watch all the best short horror shorts.
Only a full shot in video. We already did
Oh,
that
shit.
with the Halloween special. I mean, we did two.
Especially, yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, that was 45 minutes with both of them
It
put
was
together.
two, yeah.
Yeah. I think but I would love to watch more. I just don't. And that's another like shot on video was a blind spot in my horror like movie watching, and short movies are also
Yeah.
short films are also one of those. So
Comparing Blood Lake to Video Violence and Captives, one of the biggest differences, those two movies have like a plot. They have a story and we're being driven by like almost a mystery of what's going on. But Blood Lake is straight up just like a hangout movie, and hangout movies can be great when you have a cast and a set of kills that are like entertaining. And with Blood Lake, we don't have that. We just have really annoying people saying obnoxious shit, doing things that I do not find interesting. I don't want to watch people just go skiing.
or play quarters for 5 minutes.
I was into that scene for like half a minute, and then I realized this is not going to end anytime soon.
Yeah. I just and I also like I just saw Blood Rage last night. I've seen it before, like this is like the fourth time I've seen it, but Blood Rage, same year, 1987, similar title, but it's just such a far superior film. It's not shot on video, I know that, but like same year and kind of low budget and just far superior than Blood Lake.
It's Blood Rage, the movie we were watching at the bookshop this week.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know anything about that.
It's gonna be fun.
Okay.
Holy shit! It's this week.
It is.
All right, cool.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
All right, so back to the movie. So
this is when they catch the guy outside the window.
Yeah, they catch the killer looking into the house and they run him off. He looks like a middle-aged bearded gamer, and when he's caught, he has the funniest little waddle ever. Like he waddles away. What is terrifying about this?
Why can't they catch him?
Why? Yes, they make the smallest attempt if they jog toward his general direction. Very weird. Very weird.
He goes between the house and the mysteriously locked shed. Where could he have gone, I wonder?
Yeah. But it's the two guys who aren't living there. They weren't there for the shed moments. So I could see that, but still. And then later on, they don't tell them right away. They tell them after everybody's been drinking and high at night. It's just really weird.
I was so convinced that introducing those two guys, Chuck and Dennis, that they were going to end up being like secretly bad guys, but no, we're just in it to get killed, basically, like anyone in this movie, except for sadly young Tony, who lives to become a sex pest. This is when we get to the scene of them getting drunk and pretending to smoke, but mostly just passing around a joint that no one actually inhales. And we're playing, what's that game called?
Quarters.
So what are the rules of this game? I've never played it. I don't know anything about it.
So from what I gather, I've only played it once or twice, but from what I remember, you have a cup and you have to bounce the quarter into the cup. If you bounce a quarter in the cup, you get to choose who drinks, and the person you choose to drink takes a shot or takes a chug or has to chug their beer or whatever.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do you, at the end of the game, do you just win the cup?
There's no winning. It's just getting
What do you
drunk.
do with the money?
There's no money. Oh, the quarter? It's the same one quarter.
It's
It's not,
always the same one.
yeah, it's
Okay,
not betting or
okay.
anything like that. I guess that could be an aspect of it, but not that I've ever played with. But what I was gonna say is there's ways to make this scene interesting, right? There's ways to write dialogue with these characters. Like, obviously not everybody's can be Tarantino, but like one of the things that I'll give Tarantino, aside from all the stealing he does, is that his dialogue is really good and really interesting, right? And other people are really good with dialogue as well. Jordan Peele's really good with dialogue. And so like at this point, instead of just focusing on the game of quarters and like saying, oh, ha, ha, good job. Yeah. Oh, and I'm not going to do this one. You're going to get me drunk. Like those little asides, have a conversation, where that maybe doesn't lead to anything, doesn't need to lead to anything, but it could just be like an interesting story. Have somebody tell a really interesting story.
Yeah, it's really not relevant to the movie whatsoever. And it's a really long scene. And it's also one shot. I don't know if you noticed that. The camera is just in front of the table and it doesn't move. So I'm pretty convinced they just put the camera film. They just decided, okay, let's just get drunk and film it. And then maybe we can use some of it later on. Like, I don't think it was scripted at all. I think they were just fucking around. Whoa, what just happened? Oh my God, that was freaky. If anyone is watching the Patreon video right now, then we will see that Miguel and I have different clothes on. And also, half my head's been chopped off. I no longer have a bush on my head. I have a decent length hill at the moment. What just happened, Miguel? Explain.
We were in the middle of a riveting conversation talking about a very riveting movie, and Max riveted his way out of the chat.
Yeah,
the
Wi-Fi at the bookshop just died, and I recorded these podcasts at my bookshop, Ghoulish Books, and it was like, I don't know, like 8 p.m. on a Wednesday or something like that. I don't know what day it was now, and the whole town just like had an outage. So we had to stop. And then many days passed. Thanksgiving happened. I got a heel cut. What else? What else has happened? We watched a different movie with blood in the title. I've only seen 2 movies in the past like week and a half. Both of them have blood in the title. I've seen Blood Lake and I've seen Blood Rage. That's all I've watched.
And Blood Rage is the decidedly better film by far.
Oh, I mean it's slightly brittle, definitely. I think you liked Blood Rage
my God.
much more than I did.
Yeah, you were too busy talking. You're too busy talking and walking around.
Oh, I'm
Listen,
sorry.
I'm not going to get into an argument with you about it.
I'm surprised you could even hear the movie over the sound of you sucking meat off of bones.
So if you guys don't know, the last Saturday of every month, Max allows me to host a secret horror movie night. We call it Saturday Night Spookies. And for Thanksgiving this year, I decided to show Blood Rage, which is an amazing film, really fun. And if you watch it with the crowd and you're in the right mood and you're not distracted by other things, like us ordering chicken wings and just eating them with one other person in the dark, and we just hear like, that's distracting, but otherwise it's a good fun film, better than this movie. One thing I wanted to mention was that I do a pre-show as well, and for this particular pre-show I did all movies that had like blood in them. It's like Blood Lake, Blood Rage, fucking what,
Blood Breathled, Blood. You can say anything, and it's gonna be a movie. Blood Mouse, Blood Scarecrow, Blood Anus,
Blood Harvest, stuff like that. Yeah, so it was fun.
One of them,
but anyway, so
one of them I want to see. Is it like a time loop movie or something?
Oh, it was one from like 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blood Punch. Blood
Yeah, I want to see
Punch.
that one. Now, when
It
you
was
say
fun. Yeah, I
you
had complete.
when you say
I was
you
just gonna
did
say I
these
had seen the
movies,
movie, but I completely forgot about it. Sorry, I think there's a delay.
yeah, I think so too. If that's okay,
All
I'm
right,
gonna
go
raise
ahead. What were you
one finger. Do you see it now? Do you see it now?
No, I
Oh
see
wow.
it now.
Oh wow, we have a delay. This is gonna be fun. Okay, moving on. Fuck it. We what should we do? Just continue?
Uh, let's give it a try. Here, so where we left off in Blood of the Lake, they were all getting drunk, and after they get drunk, that's when the two dudes decide to tell them they had seen a stranger lurking around the house. It was 6 feet tall and uglier than hell and had a pizza face. And it's like, okay. And then they say, don't worry about it. He won't be back. But I think they definitely should be worried about it. Then we see like the younger kids are like passed out drunk on the floor. Um, and I think they go outside, I think to smoke or something like that. And the footage outside, like the night shoot outside, I thought looked terrible, but later on, I believe that when it's really bad, like over processed or whatever, overexposed, I should say, I think that's the view of the killer. I'm not sure if you caught that.
Yeah, he has a POV. Like it's almost like the Predator. Whenever he's looking at his prey, it goes into like this infrared screen. And it doesn't look great, but I kind of liked it. Just I like a little POV of a slasher. It makes it stand out a little bit. It gives it something interesting for us to look at instead of a bunch of kids just making the most sexist jokes you can imagine.
Yeah. But for me, it's like, I know this isn't a movie, it's shot on film and all that, but one of the things that I really like
Actually,
about
it's
what we're
shot on
doing
video.
now, what did I say? Shot on film?
You sure did.
Shot on video, yeah. Yeah. Shot on video. One of the things that I like now that filmmakers are doing for the most part is that they're not, they know that the audience is smarter than what it used to be, or they're just not talking down. And so like when you see people going outside to smoke, when you know that somebody has been like casing your house and stuff like that, it's like, why do that, right? And so it's a bit frustrating to see that still, but I get it. I understand, I get it. But they go out. Then this father and son are like catfishing. Or no, the two dudes are catfishing, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, so no one's died yet in the movie. That we need to make that. So if they
Yeah.
do go out, they don't know. Like they just think it's a cabin, a lake house. They don't know about the danger just yet. Because
Yeah.
tonight in the movie is when we get some actual death. And that's the Chuck and Dennis, the two guys who are like locals who were just hanging out with them. They go fly fishing, which is a type of fishing that I don't quite know what that is, but I can imagine based off the name, and I don't understand it. Do you know what fly fishing is?
Uh from what I know, that the bait is flies, so they
Okay.
tie it up on a string and they like put it in the water, and the fish get it that way.
That's not what I imagined. I imagined they go fishing for flies, and that just seemed really funny to me. Like I don't know.
Might be an option also.
I don't know much about fishing. I don't know much about flies or anything, to be honest. But they go
I
fishing, and
think there's also a type of fly fishing where you hook like zippers to the end of your line, you just throw them in the water.
shut
Like, yeah, yeah.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I applaud you.
Yeah. Thank you.
For a second, I believed you because I know so little about fishing. It's like, oh, okay. And then it hit me, the joke. We have a delay, but not on technology, just with my brain. What is this guy's name? Jed the Slasher. He shows up.
Yeah.
One of the guys he jumps into the lake and swims away immediately. The other guy just stands and waits to be killed. Like I think he falls into the lake at the last second, but then Jed grabs him and like drowns and stabs him until he's dead. But then what I was confused about was the guy who swam away. I don't know if I was falling asleep or what happened, but the next thing I knew, he was tied to a tree. Do you recall how he was caught?
Yeah, it's Michael Myers logic. So the killer Jeb is on one end of the lake, drowning the guy, and then the other, I forget the guy's name.
One is Chuck, one is
Swims across
Dennis. I don't know who's who.
The other guy makes it to the end of the lake, and then all of a sudden Jeb is there and knocks him out, ties him to a tree, and he's gagged. And then he just stabs him repeatedly in the gut. Like I understand low budget, shot on video, it's at night, but you can't think of anything more like interesting than that. Just like it's just a very boring kill.
Yeah, especially when we see him the next day and his throat's like all slit. It's pretty great looking. Why don't we see that happening?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, budgetary restrictions probably, but
Oh,
yeah. So then we get this extended scene of like the sun rise. On another one of these extended scenes, just trying to pad the runtime. And then in the morning, I thought I put down here sheriff, but I don't think it's the sheriff. It's the caretaker of the grounds or something like that.
He is called the Lake Patrol. So he patrols the lake.
But has no like
He has a
authority
badge.
whatsoever.
I don't know what the badge says, but he has a badge on at all times. I think this man is high as shit. Do you recall the interaction? He is so like casual and just amused by everything.
I don't like. I said it's very nonchalant, and he's like talking to Mike, I think, and Mike's like the acting is like, what is happening here? You're acting like somebody just told you that somebody slashed your tires, not that they killed two people you were hanging out with the day before. And then he was like, "Oh, it just happens sometimes." I'm like, "Excuse me, it just happens sometimes. People just get murdered on this island or whatever the fuck." So it was really, really weird.
I had a big laugh.
On their part.
I had a big laugh in this scene because he takes him outside, like saying, "Yeah, this guy died. I want you to see if you know him." And so they go out to the deck, and the guy Chuck is just on the deck, dead. This lake patrol guy has done nothing to like maybe put like a blanket over him. He's just left the body like this to bleed out for anyone to see. And also, why doesn't he like suspect that Mike might have done it? He just goes to the Phil like lake house and goes, "Hey,
yeah,
do you know this guy?" And then Mike is like, "What happened to Dennis?" And I have the quote written down. Lake patrol guy goes, "Is that him, Ovalville?" He points, and there's this comical like camera shot of it's just like either pans or cuts to a tree way in the distance, and he's just like crucified in the most brutal way against this tree. But to see that after the Lake Patrol guy goes, "Is that him, Ovalville?" is really funny, and I do think it reminded me the way he's posed against that tree. It reminded me of how Drew Barrymore is found at the beginning of Scream when she's like crucified and shit. And we have that almost same shot of the camera like zooming in on this crucified corpse.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I guess so.
Drew Barrymore is in Scream.
Yeah, she dies in the beginning. I think that's one of my favorite scenes of any Hulu movie. It's the opening of Scream. I'm not like a huge fan of the rest of the movie. I mean, it's okay, but that opening is so good.
I'm not the big Scream is fine to me. I'm not the biggest fan of the whodunit aspect of it, where it turns into like a mystery movie a lot of times. Like the first one is fine. Yes, it's a big whodunit, but that's fine because that was the first iteration of that. But every next a sequel after that being the same thing, a whodunit, is kind of fucking just annoying to me.
I just don't pay attention to the sequels that much, but I have a fun time with the original. I mean, mostly because
Well,
the cast, like Matthew Lizzold, the fuck is his last name? He's great.
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, now that Scream 7 is they've completely fucked it up. We Melissa Barrera has been fired of it, and now what is her name? Wednesday.
Jenna
God damn it.
Ortega.
Jenna Ortega backed out of it as well. Yeah, so they Spyglass Entertainment has completely fucked that up. Yeah, so then they go tell everybody else that those two good dudes are dead, and then it's just kind of like, same old, same old. They go shopping.
Well, wait.
Brian and Kim go swimming.
So it's a thing they talk about. We skip a little bit, and then we go in the house. So it's implied they've talked to the cops. The cops came and they talked to them, and supposedly the cops have told these teens and children not to leave the property, to just stay put in case they have any follow-up questions. And my thought is, they don't know who did this. The guy could still be out loose, waiting to kill somebody else. They haven't contacted any of these kids' parents. They'll just stay, and maybe you will also die. We don't know. See you later and good luck. That's all they have to say.
And that the sheriff will show up in a little bit. Like he can't protect them. They have to wait for the sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the night before that though is when what was the child's name? Doug? Tim? The only child?
Let's go with that.
Tony. I think it's Tony. Tony and Susan spent the night together in the same room, and then the next day they were found sleeping on the couch. So once they wake up, everyone, despite the fact that two guys just died, all they can talk about is make these jokes about how these two kids had sex potentially. We never find out if they boned, but that's talk of the town. Oh, these two kids had sex, and that's hilarious.
Yeah, I already said how off-putting that aspect of the movie is.
This is when we get to what you were talking about previously, because now it's nighttime again, and two of these idiots, I don't know their names. It's not Mike. It's the other guy and his lady. I don't know anyone's names. They decide we're going to go kill Brian and Kim. They decide we're going to go for a walk, and Mike is like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Are you stupid? That is the stupidest thing I've ever been told in my life." And Brian is like, "Man, back off, man. Cool little jets, man. I'm going to go for a fucking walk. What's so wrong with that?" And they get into this huge fight. It's just really funny to me. This guy is, this kills logic of it's fine. I'm just going to go for a walk. We smoke a cigarette. And the whole thing is he wants to go out to fuck Kim. That's his whole thing.
Yeah, they want some privacy. I mean, they have their own room, but sure. But also, it's obvious that the filmmaker or the writer just needed some conflict there, because it was very manufactured. It didn't make any sense. I mean, it makes sense that you don't want your friend to go out, but the way that they were acting like they were mad at each other didn't work for me.
I think I might react similarly to Mike if we were staying at a lake house and someone got stabbed the previous night, and you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna go for a walk in the middle of the night. I'll see you later." I think I might call you an idiot. Just what's wrong with you? Why would you do that?
Yeah, and then lock the door behind you.
Yeah, exactly. So if I don't have notes in this scene, but I think Brian and Kim, they try to find a place to have sex in the woods, but then run into two kids fishing. Is that right?
No, they don't, or they may. I don't recall, but I know that Mike runs into the two. It's a father and son fishing.
Yeah, they run into
in the
them.
movie.
they run into them, and then it's like, fuck, there's no privacy even outside. So that's why
Oh,
they get into
probably.
the
Yeah,
boat.
yeah.
They get into a boat
Yeah.
and they get naked and they begin making out until they, I guess, like crash on the land, and that's when they begin boning. Is that right?
No.
Do you use the real
So
boning?
they take no, never. Except when I'm deboning a fish after I catch it
Dude,
from the
you will
blood
boning
lake.
those fucking
No,
chicken
so they
wings. God, this delay's
so
fucking
they
us
take
up.
the boat out for some sexy they take some the boat out for some sexy night cruising, and then as they're like making out on the boat, he's not paying attention to where the boat drifts. It drifts ashore, and so the killer then has access to them and slices Brian's neck and stabs Kim to death. This is cool. It was just a decent kill. Nothing too crazy there. But then this is where Mike starts looking for them, and he runs into that father and son who tell them that yeah, they did see them, but they took the boat around the corner, and he goes looking for them, and he eventually comes across their bodies.
This scene of Mike just running through the woods is incredibly long. It's like 10% of the fucking runtime, I think. This movie is like 10% Mike running, 10% them skiing, 25% them sitting at a table drinking and not saying anything interesting, and like 79%, I don't know how to do math, of this young boy talking about how big his dick is.
Yeah, I think that checks out. That's
Yeah,
100% there.
I think so too.
So this is kind of like the beginning of the last, like the big chase scene at the end, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they're back at the so Mike is out looking for the bodies. He finds the bodies, but you'll notice there's two things. One, like to find the bodies, he was on land, but after finding the bodies and trying to get back to the house, it's like he's got to jump in and out of like these big ponds. It's really weird. His pathing was weird. I don't think you're saving
I
any
don't
time. Like,
remember that.
yeah. So, but back at the house, the lights get shut off, and then they see someone in the window. And I always think that's a cool shot, right? Because it was just a normal shot of the camera was set up in the house looking outside towards the windows. And when the lights shut off, you automatically see the shadow of the person behind that window.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. So like I said before, it's not irredeemable, the movie. There's some cool shots about it. And I just wanted to mention that was one of the cool shots.
Yeah. I
And then
I don't recall the scene, but I know what type of shot you were talking about. It is cool. It's also terrifying because, like, at this bookshop, man, in the daytime, nobody can see in through the windows because it's tinted. But at night, with all these lights on, I can't see a goddamn thing outside, and I'm always skilled of who might be watching me as I podcast, I guess.
well, I mean, the other night at the movie, you were like kept looking over your shoulder, like, what? Is somebody coming in?
Well, mostly because we have the machine, the device we have that like rings a bell when someone opens it. It's dead. I need to change the battery out. So people can just sneak up on me. It happened once the other day, and I was spooked. I was
Well,
LP and his family were shopping, and we're just hanging out and talking, and then a bunch of other people walked into the lobby, and I had no idea until I just walked this way and almost ran into them. It's scary. I want to talk
but you
about
also take little nap times.
I want to talk about anything else besides this movie. I don't like it.
Let's hurry up. Let's get through it. Let's get through it.
Okay. So yeah,
So
Jed he ties him up in like a shed or something. No one's fighting back. I mean, it's just one fucking like truck driver basically. He has the body shape of Shrek. I mean, I don't know how he's doing any of this. How no one is getting away or fighting him. He ties them up. the woman who I think is dating Mike. Do you know what his whole name is?
Becky.
Becky's like, "Why are you doing this?" And now Becky's family is the one who owns the lake house, and so she says, "Why are you doing this to me?" And he goes, "Because of your daddy." And that's really all he says in this movie. And then what?
Yeah.
Susan bites him on the hand. Is that what happens?
Susan bit him on the hand already and escaped.
Oh, okay.
So he says, because of your daddy, and then he stabs Becky. Then Mike shows up and they tussle, and Mike smashes Jed's head on the wall, then throws him down and stabs him repeatedly, maybe a dozen times. This is very important because this is a regular as Dom DeLuise looking motherfucker, and he just got stabbed repeatedly a dozen times.
If you thought the stabbing at the end of my movie, We Need to Do Something, was way too much, you have not seen Blood Lake. There's a lot of stabbing.
Yeah.
The fight is really lame too. I mean, it's like a Billy Billing fight. I wonder if we're going to notice that is an oft like a frequent criticism, because I had that with Video Violence 1 as well. The fist fights, like the confrontation, the physical confrontation, is always super lame to me. And of course, I mean, they don't have like stuntmen. They don't have ways to program these fights out. So I'm looking forward to a good shot and video movie with like a good fight scene. I haven't seen one yet, I don't think.
That'd be really cool. I wonder if we probably won't get it in horror. Maybe there'll be like a shot on video, like a martial arts movie or something like that.
Hey, was Dawn of the Deadbeat a shot and video movie?
Dawn of the Deadbeat? I've never even heard of that.
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong title. Um, I have to Google this.
I'll look it up right now.
Okay, is it Dawn of the Deadbeat? Oh, Deadbeat at Dawn. Have you seen that?
Deadbeat, I still haven't heard of it. No.
It's pretty great. I don't think it's shot in video though, looking at it. Good movie.
1988.
Good action movie.
Okay. That'd be cool, like to do like a martial arts movie every now and then. Like we don't, maybe it doesn't always have to be horror.
We can do anything we want, man. It's all podcast. Who's listening? Zach?
Zach's not listening.
No, I wish.
But okay, so we're almost done.
Yeah.
So Becky gets stabbed, but Mike was not, again, he's downplaying the situation. He's not too worried about Becky, it feels like to me. And then we find out that Jed used to live here. The dad bought the place.
Well, how did we find
him?
How did we find that out? Well, skipping the funniest film. Okay, so before we get to that, I will say I was so grateful when he stabbed Becky, because before that he was like unbuttoning her blouse, and I thought we were gonna get some sexual assault. So I was like, oh, I don't want to watch this. But he just stabs her, and then that's it. But Mike shows up, stabs him to death, supposedly, and then the lake patrol guy, he shows up, and Mike is like, "This is him. This is the guy who's doing it all. Do you know him?" And the lake patrol guy goes, "Oh yeah, that's Jed." The most anticlimactic possible reveal. Oh yeah, that's Jed. And yeah, now tell the audience what he explains, like why he's been doing all this.
Yeah, so Jed used to live there, and Becky's dad bought the place, but apparently never paid for it. So I guess you don't buy something and never pay for it. You stole. He stole the house. You know, maybe
steal someone's house.
Works, but well, I'm not. Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot all around the world. But the reactions here again are fucking terrible. But the ambulance arrives, and we see that Susan's okay, and also that the sheriff never showed up.
No.
You know, this sheriff that was supposed to come has never showed up. The patrolman goes back to look for the body of the killer, and he's gone. And then he chases the ambulance, but they're too far away. So like I guess he was gonna, patrol guy was gonna tell them that the killer's gone, but
I thought we
so
were
a
gonna
man
get a case of Jed being in the body bag, but that wasn't what happened.
like the Michael Myers
Yeah.
in H2O.
Yeah.
And then we get that, remember that weird witch cackling thing that was in the house?
Yeah.
We get that again. They really wanted to use this prop. So witch cackles. And then we're in the daylight now. We see the killer, Jed. He's just walking around. This is what I was thinking. Didn't he get stabbed a dozen times? How the fuck is he walking around with no medical assistance? He wasn't taken to the hospital.
Did we see him again before the epilogue? I don't recall.
The killer? Yeah, we see him right now.
I thought it then went to the epilogue. I just don't have it in my notes. I don't remember.
Right. No, so he walks from behind the house.
Oh.
And he walks towards the lake.
Mm.
And I was thinking, is it winter now? Because it looked a bit colder and had dried up. And then we just see this extended scene of him looking out at the drained lake.
Oh yeah, that's the epilogue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to take place way in the future. Am I wrong about that? I just assumed.
There's no mention of it. Yeah. I mean,
the lake is completely dried.
Yeah, it's completely dried. And then for some reason I have a note here that says, "I died at Blood Lake." Was that a
that was
or something? Or?
No, it was the fucking Voyager song that begins playing during the credits. It's called Blood Lake. I assume this song existed before the movie, and he just kind of named it after the song. But yeah, it's a pretty fucking cool song. I thought I like the soundtrack in this movie. It's
pretty decent.
One of the lyrics in that song is "I died at Blood Lake." Call your movie that, by the way. That's a way better title than just Blood Lake.
Yeah, or an Eric LaRocca title.
Yeah.
and then in the credits, we see a pretty fun credit. It says Dry Lakes special effects by an act of God.
Now we know
so I really
the
wonder
man who made this movie is a man of religion. An act of God. God doesn't exist, buddy. Get it through your skull. I know what happened because I did the research.
Tell me.
I'm trying to read because I forget. Okay. I didn't write it down, but I vaguely recall. So they made the movie. A lot of time passed. And then one of the people who lived close by, well, maybe they just went out to visit the set, the lake. They saw it had dried up. So they called up the director. I was like, hey, we should come film this and use it in the movie. So they just went and did it. But it was like a dam broke or something. I don't fucking know. Some type of weather incident. I thought I had written it down, but I didn't. So it's something just like that.
Again, so that was just the end of the movie. Blood Lake. I'm kind of happy that we're done talking about it. It was just really boring, and
I'm not done talking about it.
Oh, we're not done talking about it? Fuck.
No, I have some more behind the scenes.
What else would you like to talk about it?
So the reason it's odd because a lot of these shot and video movies, they then come out like with like a boutique Blu-ray company. This one has not. And the reason is nobody knows who owns the rights to it because the guy who directed it, I forget his name. I think it's like Tim Duggs. He sold the rights to United Home Video for $6,000. And after that, it's not clear who now owns the rights. Nobody even knows who owns like the master tapes. So it's just this big unknown thing. And like the director is confused, much like Gilly Cohen was confused with how big of a fandom this shot and video movie has gotten. Like he doesn't seem to understand why. In this interview I listened to him talking, and he just kept talking about how he thought the movie was kind of shitty. He didn't really get why anyone liked it so much. Also, they took a bunch of photos from that dried up lake, and they actually sent them to a little tabloid magazine I used to be in love with called The Weekly Real News. And they sent them the photos with like all this background stuff about how they shot the movie at this lake. WWN, they took the photos, but then were like, nah, we can come up with something more exciting than this. And they just wrote different things and published the photos with a completely different backstory to them.
I love that. I love that. Even like, was it like a gossip rag or something?
Yeah, it was
Weekly World News.
Yeah, you didn't read it. So it wasn't so
No.
much a gossip mag. Have you seen the movie Night File, the Stephen King adaptation with
No, but
the Dracula
I
pilot?
wanted to see it.
Oh, so good. I was
Yeah.
asking because the protagonist is employed at a tabloid like it. So this specific magazine, instead of like doing actual gossip, it would do more like supernatural and monstral stuff. Like it would invent cryptids that were sighted around the country. Like the main celebrity gossip it would do is like, is Clinton actually an alien? Like that type of stuff. It was really odd and strange. As a kid, I convinced my neighbor that I invented it, which was pretty cool. He thought I was awesome. But yeah,
You were just living among the locals.
well, he didn't know it was a famous thing because I would also like make comic books and sell them at school and stuff. So, and it's like this cheap black and white thing. So I was like, yeah, I made this as well. What do you think of it? He thought it was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think you're cool too.
I don't think so, but that's okay.
All right. Do we want to rate this? Let's rate this out of
I was thinking about
5.
this.
All right.
Do we want to keep rating these movies? Well, do we want to just say recommend or not a recommend?
Sure, let's do it.
What do
Not
you
recommended.
think? No, I don't recommend it either. Listen to the songs on YouTube. I'm sure you can find them, specifically the Blood Lake song. But beyond that, you don't need to watch this movie. It's terrible. I hated it.
I think it would. I think for like completionists of SOV horror movies, maybe, but there's a bunch more. There's a bunch better horror movies. There's a bunch better, movies you can spend. But what I wanted to ask you was, you said that they weren't quite sure who owned the rights, but at the beginning of this movie, we saw that it was AGFA and Bleeding Skull that were distributing this version of it, right? Like, do you know
I
how
don't
that
know.
worked? Or?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm just going by what he
Uh,
said in this interview. But that was like a while back, so maybe something has changed since then. Maybe it has come out on Blu-ray. I'll tell you one thing. I'm really glad I didn't buy this from like Vinegar Syndrome. Like I often like just blind buy movies. I would have been pissed.
Yeah, it was released by AGFA on DVD, but it is out of print.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're a liar.
I am.
Oh, I was looking at AGFA. They have this. Have you heard of Ninja Zombie?
Nun Ninja?
No, Ninja Zombie.
No, I don't know that.
Okay. I'm checking to see if it was shot on video, and if it was, that'd be a fun one to do. Because AGFA released that one as well. Doesn't say. We can look it up. I recommend that one over Blood Lake. Essentially, unless you're a completionist of SOV horror, I don't think there's a real need to watch this movie.
That's that. Mattress Man. That's that. All right.
All right. This is a bit of a weird episode because it got caught up into two segments, but I'm looking forward to the next one. Are we gonna do the Sergeant Lunch one?
Sure, why not? Yeah, we'll do that.
Let's announce it here, decide that we can't do it, and then come up with another movie.
We
next
have
time
done
instead.
that a lot, but this time we both have the disc. So what is it called? Do you have the title in front of
I
you?
don't have it on me.
It looked like you did.
I don't.
You like looked behind you like you were reading the title. I think it's called Blood Feast: The Adventures of Sergeant Lunch. Pretty sure that's the title.
Yes, you're right. Blood Feast: The Adventures of Sergeant Lunch. Yes, you're correct.
I will say though, back to Blood Lake real fast. I disliked the movie a lot. And then everything with the Wi-Fi happened, and we had to spend 2 days doing this episode. It just made me fucking hate this movie so much. I hope
Yeah, it didn't help.
I hope Lunchbox, the Blood Feast movie, is a big improvement. Pretty cool though, because we will actually sent free copies of that Blu-ray, both of us, by the guy who made it. So it's going to be real awkward if we dislike it. I don't know.
I think at this point,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think at this point, like people just need to understand that, like, some SOV horror movies are not for everybody, and this, you and I, like we said, we're not like experts on this, and we're just kind of fumbling our way through this and seeing what we like and we don't like.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest indicator of that is most people prefer video violence too over video violence, and neither of us were in that camp whatsoever. Like video violence
Really?
too,
I
yeah,
wasn't aware of
is
that.
like the popular one. And I don't. It's just not my thing. It's not your thing. So, and Blood Lake isn't my thing. It might be
Yeah.
someone's thing. Good job. Good. You do you, buddy. Do you have anything
All
to
right.
promote, Miguel?
My podcast, My Horror Confessional, comes out every Friday. We have people come on and talk about a classic horror movie that they haven't seen and why, and then we discuss it and have fun about it. Do Patreon. It's called patreon.com/My Horror Confessional, and I'm now part of the Ghoulish Podcast Network. Max is my podcast overlord.
Yeah. And if you want to watch the video versions of these episodes, you can support Decayed Tapes on Patreon at patreon.com/Decayed Tapes. You can also write into the mailbag. If you ever had sex on a boat, let us know at decayedpod@gmail.com. We want to know about it. Yeah.
Look at
that's
this
it.
poster behind me.
I'm
It
not-
looks like a pilgrim. Looks like a pilgrim is the killer. And
I
he's
have
not.
I have some info on that
Not that.
before I close out.
Yeah.
They made the movie. Tim Duggs, I think is the name of the guy who made it. He was like, "This movie sucks. How are we going to sell it? Oh, we need a good movie poster." So he hired some guy who mostly just took like nudie photos to go out to the lake and just make that photo, and it's pretty good. I like it. It's a good. It's the only good
Better
thing
than the
about the movie. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
don't watch this movie.
Live spooky, die spooky.